today we are doing medieval times. So, the social. The church was the center of all medieval life. It had the highest authority, even over kings. At the top of the medieval hierarchy was the king. The king was not actually very powerful in the early Middle Ages. With the loss of the Roman Empire, the king had to find a way to protect his land on his own. He gave large amounts of land to the nobility. They provided knights to return. Kings were loyal to God and the church. They were expected to give the church at least a 1/10 portion of whatever income they received from the nobles and vassals. Nobles received land from the king in exchange for loyalty and taxes. How did they get money to pay the taxes? Well, they gave some of their land to lesser lords and vassals in exchange for loyalty and taxes. Nobles were also expected to give 10% of their income to the church. They also often fought other nobles for land or power. Knights were part of the warrior class. They protected the king's lands and fought in his wars. They received the land as a reward for their loyalty and faithful service. Knights also had to pay taxes to the king and give 1/10 of their income to the church. Serfs worked harder. Their labor kept the feudal system functioning. They had little freedom and no payment for their works. They were valuable resources of income for their lord, and he controlled everything they did. They had to ask permission to get married or to travel. The lord protected the serfs and invaders. Serfs were also expected to give 10% of their food or supplies they received to the church. They gave most of what they had to their lord. Political. When the Western Roman Empire fell, its lands were broken up into different kingdoms. It became difficult for the kings to defend their kingdoms, and attacks came quickly from Vikings, Magyars, and Marauders. During this time, nobles were forced to defend their own manors. Each noble had many vassals. Vassals were those who leased or rented land from the noble. They pledged allegiance to the noble. The vassals committed to protect the lord's land. Many vassals were knights, who were well-trained warriors who fought on horseback. The knights would also serve in the king's army when necessary. In return for this, a vassal was granted a tract of land called a fief, which he could use as he wished. This system of land use is called feudalism. Religious. The Catholic Church had the highest authority, even over kings in the Middle Ages. The church was led by the Pope. Archbishops, bishops, and priests helped him by taking charge of lands at a local level. Monks and nuns dedicated their lives to the church. Monks lived in monasteries, and nuns lived in convents. They had received a detailed education of literature, art, and music. The church was separated from the government. It was controlled most of the land and wealth in the Middle Ages. Intellectual. Monasteries were centers of learning as well as religion. Monks studied and taught many subjects and arts, like literature, math, and music. Monasteries were home to a great deal of medieval knowledge and literature. Monks passed on knowledge to many peasants in Europe who usually could not read. The monks who also made illuminated manuscripts, like the Book of Kells. Technological. The three-field system was the most common farming method in the Middle Ages. In this system, farmers let 1/3 of the farmland fallow or unplanted each season. They divided the remaining fields between early and late crops. This resulted in 2 harvests. This helped prevent shortages by ensuring a backup crop in case of one harvest failed. This system was an innovation of the Middle Ages. Manors functioned like small villages. They included smaller homes for the laborers who lived there, land for farming, wood, and streams for fishing. You see this? You see the spring planting, the autumn planting. Economic. The people of Europe began to spread out after the decline of the Western Roman Empire. They moved away from cities to manors in the countryside. Manors were large farming villages that the nobles governed. The king gave large areas of land to the nobility to control as they wished. In return, the nobles or lords were expected to be loyal to the king. The nobles protected and cared for those who lived on their lands in exchange for work or service. The farmlands on manors provided foods and other needed materials for the nobles and the peasants who lived there. The lord assigned farmlands to the peasants, and then peasants would then used the land to grow food. They gave the lord food or other payment to return for use of the land. This system is called mineralism. While some peasants were free, many became serfs. Serfs were obligated to the land they worked, and the nobles controlled them like slaves. Serfs worked in land to provide for themselves. They also gave the noble a large portion of what they grew. The serfs' children then inherited the role from their parents.